What's up, everyone? This is Mike Cazu, and you're listening to the Brute Strength Podcast. This week, I interview CrossFit Games athlete Cole Sager. Cole has one of the best mindsets in the game of CrossFit. He's very intentional about his training. One of the cool things that we dive into in this show is his regional performance last year. He was, I think, 9th place going into the last event. He had to win the event, and he also had to have 3 specific competitors place outside of the top 5. And so he had to both win it and then also have help that was outside of his control. And we talk about his thought process and how he overcame that and ended up making it to the games, as well as the conversation that him and Ben Bergeron had going into that event. Before we get started, if you're a regular listener of this show and you haven't done so already, leave me a quick review on iTunes. I would really appreciate that. Enjoy the show. If you have a question that you want answered related to health and fitness, mindset, business, etc., please don't hesitate to call in. I absolutely love being able to connect with you guys and answer your questions, or having friends of mine that are experts help me answer your questions. So if you're interested, call into the hotline at 801-449-0503. That's 801-449-0503. What's up, guys? This is Mike Cazu, and this is the Brute Strength Podcast. Today, I'm here with Cole Sager. I doubt he needs much of an introduction, but for those of you who don't know him, he is one of the best CrossFit athletes of all time. Cole, I know you're busy. It's a really busy time of year for you, stressful time for a lot of people. So I really appreciate you making the time to do this, man.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, looking forward to it. Glad I'm here.
So before we really dive into the meat of this, I want to talk about this best cinnamon roll in the world thing. So you and your wife have set out on a quest, an adventure, if you will, to find the best cinnamon roll in the world. What's your criteria for this? Your testing process, and what is your search process like for this?
We'll start with the search process. Search process really just comes down to, so far, it's been word of mouth. Just kind of hearing, just kind of keeping our ears peeled for the term cinnamon roll. And all of a sudden you'll see our ears perk up. It's like, wait, we're there. And we have some criteria. So kind of like, some can be hit or miss. We want something that's doughy, it's like not doughy, not mushy. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
Yeah, totally. Honestly, like the more buttery, probably the better, because that means that there's a lot of cinnamon and butter on there. And
right.
It's hard to beat that. But actually, one of the things that we like the most on a cinnamon roll is the frosting being a cream cheese frosting. That has been one of our biggest favorites so far. So
for me, it would be a complete disqualification if it didn't have cream cheese frosting.
Right? Yeah.
Like, I'll eat you, but you're not even making the list.
Exactly. I'll still eat you. I have no problem, but you're definitely not in the top 5.
Because I'm not a wasteful guy. You know what I mean?
Totally.
So what's been the best and the worst so far?
Actually, one of the best, surprisingly, came from Fred Meyer, which is just a Kroger brand.
He told me this. I think I remember.
And
this.
I was shocked. Just my mind was blown. I was like, I didn't expect it. I was like, there's no way. And just the amount, I think it's the dough to cream cheese frosting ratio that they had going on was just like, this is what's up.
I think there are a couple peer-reviewed articles on that ratio, like the perfect ratio out there. Yeah.
Exactly. And then the worst was we were on a trip somewhere. I can't remember, but it was just a little cinnamon roll from like a little bakery. And it was, just kind of ended up being dry. Didn't have a lot of frosting. It was just kind of like a powdered sugar frosting. And it was just like, not great, but I'll still eat you,
So you didn't spit it out then?
No, you can't spit out a cinnamon roll. Pretty good, so. No, we're just talking about me and my wife. We really try to live our lives at, high character value and try to be intentional about the way we live our lives. And one of the things that we thought about was just kind of living a life that also found joy in it, just enjoyed some of the small things. Being a CrossFit Games athlete, things can get serious pretty quickly in the season. So it was just kind of a way for us to keep lighthearted. It was like, what do we truly enjoy,
Right.
And like, what's something that we can just kind of keep our eyes out on and have some fun looking for. And we landed on cinnamon rolls. So,
man, I admire the shit out of that. And I couldn't agree more. I think, in this community, as you know, and a lot of communities, the entrepreneurial community, business community, we're all about growth. Right. And we're working hard. We're ambitious. We're moving forward. And I think joy kind of falls by the wayside a lot of times. Right. Like fun and joy kind of get forgotten for the sake of, growth and just building stuff. And, in the end, joy and fun, those are two of the sweetest things in life. So something as simple as searching for the world's best cinnamon roll, I think is an amazing little kind of just tactic to bring more of that into your life. I think that's really cool.
Totally. And for us, like, we kind of hope to see, like, maybe that will take us to Europe, and just like, hey, like, let's go look for a cinnamon roll. Hey, where can we find one? Maybe we can find one in Europe, like just little things in life that will, pull us out and help us find that joy.
I mean, you're at the grassroots level of this expedition, but I think this can take you all over the world. Certainly.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man.
All right, man. Let's dive into this. So in a second, I want to talk about the final event from last year's regional. But first, I want to hash out kind of how you got into the position that you were in. And help me with the details, but I think it was going into the last event of the regional. Mm-hmm. You had to do two things. One, you had to win the workout, and then two, you had to have some other people perform not do so well. So part of it was out of your control. And something similar, I think, happened the year before. Not quite as extreme, but something similar.
Yep.
Are those details correct?
Yeah. So in 2015, I was only a few points out of the top 5. I was in 7th place, and only a few points out. And I just had to win the event, and one person had to finish behind me.
Okay.
So, I mean, as long as I won the event, things were good. But fast forward to 2016 regionals, going into event 7, I was in 9th place. I had a 31-point deficit.
Wow.
And I had to win the event. And then 3 specific people had to finish, I think it was like 7th or lower. Mm-hmm. And these were guys that were in the top 7 already, had been crushing workouts all weekend long, and they had to just kind of fall off the wayside during that workout. So a lot of things that were out of my control there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So in a second, I wanna go into that specific scenario more, but I'm wondering, it happened twice. And I'm sure this is a conversation that you've had before, but is there anything other than physical? Is there anything mental during the regionals that you think has gotten in your way and gotten you into that position twice?
Mentally, I don't think that what was going on in my mind during the regional event, I don't think there's anything going on in my mind or my mindset that held me back and got me into that position. I think what was going on in my mind during those regional events is what got me into the top 5. Mm-hmm. I think that what got me into that position was what was going through my mind 3, 4, 5 months before regionals. It was the mindset and the attitude I had training up to that got me into the position that I was in. And it was only my mindset during that got me out of it.
Got it. And what was that mindset leading up to the event for those months of training?
One word to sum it all up was complacency.
Wow.
It's tough being a CrossFit Games athlete. You take pride in being the hardest worker in the room. You take pride in working harder than everybody else out there. You take pride in being elite, kind of in your own special category, if you will, the 1% of a community. And it's really easy to get wrapped up in that. But I think the hardest thing to do is to be honest with yourself when you are prideful of being in that 1%, being in that special category, being a games athlete. It is really hard to have an honest conversation with yourself and come to the conclusion that you were being lazy or complacent, that you had a passive and apathetic attitude towards the way you approached your off season. Mm-hmm. And it's really tough. And it's something that I had to sit down and I had to take a look at, why am I in this position and why did this happen to me in year 1? And then I had to have it again in an even deeper way in year 2 when it happened 2 years in a row. I had to really look at myself and be like, bro, like, what are you doing? Like, what is going on, and what are you thinking? What's going on in your thought process that is getting you into this position because you were putting yourself in this position?
Right.
Nobody's putting you here. You put yourself here. So
what did that complacency look like in your training? Can you give me some specific examples?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, some of the simple ways to think about it, as simple as going through the motions. Going into the gym, going to your box, and when you go to train, you are just checking boxes off.
Yep.
You're going in there and getting work done, but there's not a whole lot of intention behind it. There's not a lot of purpose behind it. You're just going through the motions. You're just doing things to get things done, and the result is what you saw. It's a complacent attitude. You think that you're doing enough, but you're not.
And why do you think you were complacent? Is it because why do you think you became complacent?
That one's a tough one, because maybe we can get into a little bit deeper later. But I'm doing CrossFit for a specific reason. That's kind of that really pulls at my heart and has me in this space in the first place. But I never lost sight of that. But for some reason, I started to think that what I was doing was just good enough. Oh, I made it to the games. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm getting older. My lifts will just come with time. I'm going to get fitter as long as I'm doing some work. And a lot of that just comes maybe from lack of knowledge and not having the right people in my life to call me out. I think it's really important to surround yourself with like-minded people, but more so people who are willing to hold you accountable and kind of have, somebody that you can give authority to in your life that says, like, hey, like, you need to step your game up. And so maybe not having those people in my life, in 2015, I finished 7th at the games, which was at the time of my best finish. So then going into the 2016 season, I was like, oh, great. Look at me. Like I finished 7th at the CrossFit Games, and I did it by doing this. Mm-hmm. So I just kept doing that, not realizing that I was cutting out certain areas, and becoming a little bit more complacent. And the weird thing is after the 2015 season, after finishing 7th, I actually quit my full-time job mm-hmm. and became a full-time CrossFit athlete. So going into 2016, I had more time. It was my only responsibility was to train, be a good husband and a friend. Like, I took a huge chunk of time off my plate, working 40 to 50 hours a week in
Right.
an office job, you know what I mean? Like, and I still got to regionals and finished, and had what happened in 2016 regionals happen,
Mm-hmm.
and that was just like, oh, I really just went to this mindset of like, what I did was enough. If I just continued to do this, it's going to be enough. But I think that people need to understand you can't just get fitter. You have to get fitter than faster than everybody else is getting fitter.
Right.
And I didn't think of it that way. I didn't see it that way, and I didn't approach the season that way.
Mm-hmm.
So
I definitely want to dive into some of that stuff more. But first, can you take me through? So you're in this position at regionals. You are about to potentially not make the games. You placed 7th at the games the year before, and now you're potentially not going back. Can you
fighting for my life?
Yeah, exactly. You quit your full-time job for this, and your season is about to end. Can you take us through, what you were thinking and feeling, and can you tell us about the talk that Ben gave you back there?
That talk. It was good talk. To start off, I guess we should probably just talk about, the essence of where I'm grounded in as my character and as a human being. I ground myself in faith. I'm a Christian athlete, and I'm a very faith-based individual. Wear that as my first core value. Is just to have faith and trust that God's got a plan, and I'm here to just bring glory to His kingdom. And so for me, going into that final event, I just had to trust and just know that there was a plan. And it was weird because if I was talking to somebody through what I was thinking right before that final event, it was a weird conversation. It was a conversation of saying, look, you have to go win this event. You don't have a choice but to go win this event. Mm-hmm. You did this to yourself. Now go make it happen. But at the same time, have an honest conversation with myself and say, but you could win this event, and there still could be nothing that you can do more that could get you to the CrossFit Games.
Right.
And you very well may not go to the CrossFit Games, and you have to own that. And it was a really odd conversation because most people just want to sit in the back and get themselves fired up. They don't want to have the conversation of like, look, you could go out and win this, and there's still be nothing that you can do to make it to the CrossFit Games. And I had to tell myself that. I felt like it was something that I had to be honest with myself. So when I got out onto the competition floor, my demeanor didn't change because of, and I don't want my demeanor to change. I want it to be ecstatic and enthusiastic if I make it. But if I didn't want to have a dramatic, woe is me, sorrowful mm-hmm. reaction, because it was something I had done to myself. And in that moment, if I wouldn't have made it to the CrossFit Games, I wanted to make sure that my response was respected within the community, and that people could see me and say like, wow, he wore that with class. He lost with class. Mm-hmm. And I think that is more important, that you keep the essence of your character than it is to, go out and throw a fit and be mad that you didn't make it. So that's why I had to have that conversation with myself before going to the event. I also, during regionals, I actually, and even the CrossFit Games, I don't look at the leaderboard. It's not something that I feel has any benefit to my performance. And it's now something that even Ben has adopted in a lot of his philosophy and training. But I started doing that back in 2015. I just stopped looking at the leaderboard. It just didn't make sense to worry myself and get so caught up in everything that I was doing. If I just went out and gave my best effort, that should be enough.
And that's the only thing that you have any control over.
Exactly.
Right. And so that's the only thing that's productive. Both of these that you're talking about are very like stoic principles.
Yes.
The first is acceptance, right? Acceptance of whatever happens because you can't change what already happened. And the second is this kind of locus of control. What is it inside and outside of your control? That's phenomenal.
Exactly. So, I think another thing that people have to realize is when they go into events, and for some reason people think it's really easy when they go into the CrossFit Games. But I think it's just as important when, preparing for the Open and preparing for regionals. But when you go to compete in the Open, compete in regionals, or compete at the Games, you have to go into it with the mindset of the work has already been done. Mm-hmm. I've done everything I can up until this point to get me to where I need to be. It's either going to be enough or I didn't do enough. And you have to, again, accept that and know that now I just have to do my best. So I approach regionals that way. It's like, look, you are here now. There's no need. There's no point in worrying about the events on Saturday. It's Friday morning. Worry about the next event. Don't worry about Saturday. It'll take care of itself. Just do your best effort. Which is actually a biblical principle found in Matthew 6. Yeah, Matthew chapter 6, verse 33. Truly explain this. Don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will take care of itself. You have everything you need to make the best of today's situation. And so that's why I approach competition the way that I approach it.
And so you're aware of that. Do those thoughts and feelings ever creep in? And if so, is there like a, do you just instantly overcome it with these other thoughts of acceptance, or what's the process like?
Sure. That's something that you have to develop a habit of. I spend a lot of time journaling, spend a lot of time praying, and I spend a lot of time just meditating, just thinking. Another biblical principle out there is take captive of your thoughts, because if you can take captive of your thoughts, you will control your tongue. If you control your tongue, you will control the seeds that you sow in life, and essentially be able to reap and benefit a character of success and a respectful guard. And so that's one of those things that I spend a lot of time practicing every single day, just taking captive the thoughts that I have. Mm-hmm. If I'm having thoughts of doubt, I will go and journal about it, and I'll be honest with myself. Like, look, you're having these doubtful moments, and try to pick apart why. Like, there's no need for that. There's no room for doubt. So why are you having those? Or just anger or bitterness towards people. If I'm having, a struggle with a friendship or something, I have to take captive those thoughts as well. I have to be intentional about the way I'm thinking about other people, and your mind begins to create a habit in being able to take captive your thoughts and be able to shift focus into the positive. Mm-hmm. Really focus on the good. The Bible says that all things are worked together for the good. So there is good in all things. There is always a good outcome. You just have to find it and be willing to look for it. So if you can just take captive your thoughts, even in situations that are hard, even though situations that are tough and it's hard to have faith and have trust, you just got to know that there is something good in the situation. So I take that principle to a lot of things, and really another principle that I applied at regionals going into that last event and say, look, like, if you don't make it to the CrossFit Games, there will be good that comes from this. There will be something that you can look forward to. It may not be right away, and it may hurt right now, but just trust and know that something good is going to come from this.
That's kind of another stoic principle. Do you know the book The Obstacle is the Way?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
So exactly what you're talking about, right? In every quote unquote obstacle that we encounter, there's some way for us to use that to propel us forward rather than hold us back.
Very cool.
Yeah. Can you talk about the conversation that Ben had with you before that last event?
Oh yeah.
You
So
thought you were going to get out of that.
no. So in all the things I said, like I had to have the conversation with them, I had to be accepting, I had to pump myself up and tell myself I had to win. But there was something else that also fueled the monster that came out during that event. And that was a conversation I had with Ben. And you know, we actually didn't do a lot of talking before that event. He and I had only been working together for probably 8 months. And this was his first time that he had a chance to coach me in person at an event. Mm-hmm. So there was a lot of learning on his end. And there was a lot of adapting to me having a coach around me. It was my first time. I'd never had up until that point, a coach around to help me dictate situations, help dictate warm up, cool down, mindset between events. So, there was a lot kind of going on there. And throughout the weekend, he didn't say a lot throughout the weekend. He just kind of sat back and he just kind of watched, listened. He himself has a very stoic personality. And when it came to that event, we were maybe 1 minute before we were corralled. He pulled me out. He pulled me aside in the back of the warm-up area. And he looked me straight in the eye and he said, "Focus on me." And he told me, he said, "This workout that is in front of you is a linebacker that is in the hole on a 4th and 1 on the goal line. You have to score to win the game. You have to blow through this workout with the same intensity, same aggression, same passion that you would blow through that linebacker to win the game." And he pulled at heartstrings. He's talking football language, talking about smashing people's heads. I'm getting fired up. Fire starts to light in my eyes. I'm thinking about hitting somebody, but I have to channel that energy, and I just got to go work out now. And it was something that just really fired me up. And it just kind of remembered, like, hey, you got to go attack this workout. You have to go give everything that you have and be just aggressive in nature and dominate the workout. Don't let the workout dominate you. So
what did that feel like having, I know in the moment you're completely focused on going out there and executing, but looking back on that, what did that mean to you to have been just so invested in you and engaged with you throughout that process?
Man, I was just grateful for it. I really focus on having a life lived with gratitude, and just kind of looking back at that situation, it was so cool to have somebody stand with you in the midst of a giant. I was standing in the face of a giant. I was David facing Goliath in that situation. Goliath being, I'm 31 points down. I'm in 9th place. I have to win the workout, and 3 people have to finish a specific way. Mm-hmm. I was facing Goliath. And to have somebody stand behind me and just say, like, I got your back. No matter what happens, I got your back. But this is what you have to go do was very, very cool. It was a settling feeling in your spirit in the midst of complete chaos, complete passion, fire, and rage. It was settling and peaceful, which is a really, really cool place to compete from.
Rather than one of fear, self-doubt, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
That's awesome, man. So we already started to, thank you, by the way, for sharing that. That was a great story. I love it. Hey guys, every year when the Open's over, I get dozens, if not hundreds of emails, messages from guys and girls wanting to know what to do in the off season. First, it all depends on what your goal is. If your goal is to compete, then you need to get on a structured program made for competitors. If your goal is to look better naked, get stronger, then you need something like Brute Body. The The program opens today, March 20th, and closes Sunday, April 2nd. We're fired up about some new features that are coming out, like some individualized goal setting, weekly live cast in the members groups, as well as a huge transformation challenge with the winner getting a Bahamas cruise or a cruise somewhere really cool for two. Here is what one of our members has to say about the program.
Hi guys, my name is Bobby Moore. I am from CrossFit 187 in BC, Canada. I'm a 36-year-old CrossFit coach and mom of 3 boys. I started Brute Body in April of 2016. I was part of the Wadapalooza Transformation Group. My motivation for joining Brute Strength was not wanting to be the overweight CrossFit coach that needed a demo person to instruct all of our body weight movements. Over the last 9 months, with support of amazing Brute coaches, expert programming, and a simply laid out and easy to follow nutrition, I've actually lost over 50 pounds and 17% body fat. I can finally, after 3 years of CrossFit, do unassisted pull-ups, dips, and handstand push-ups. The fat loss and lean muscle gain have allowed me to PR all of my big lifts. In fact, my back squat now sits at 295 pounds. I've added 25 pounds onto my bench press, and my endurance and aerobic capacity have increased dramatically. My favorite aspect of the Brute Strength programs is the accessibility to the coaches via email, Facebook, and the Team Builder app. I've never waited longer than a few hours for a response to any questions, and the answers I've received are all knowledgeable, clear, concise, and well thought out. The entire Brute Strength community operates almost like a family. I've gotten only support, good vibes, and tons of knowledge. I can't say enough about the Brute Strength programs. They've changed my life. If you're on the fence about joining one, get off the fence, do it. I promise you'll be leaner, stronger, faster, and you won't regret it. Thanks, guys. Bye.
So we already started talking about this a little bit, based on what you learned from those 2 regional experiences. But something that a D brings up all the time is that you're one of her most disciplined athletes, and that's saying a lot, given the caliber of people that she works with. And she always brings up the concept that you want to leave no stone unturned. And it sounds like these regional experiences really highlighted that or brought that kind of mindset or, just brought that mindset out in you. Is there anywhere else in your life that you think kind of lent itself to that, developing that mindset, or and if so, where?
Absolutely. Again, I told you before, being a Christian athlete, I think that a lot of the things that I've learned have come from Christian or just biblical principles. If you want to talk about Stoic books, it's probably one of the most Stoic books out there if you go through and read some of its principles. And so a lot of it stems from that. But past that, kind of a little mantra I guess I have is, it takes a community to raise a champion. And people forget about all the people that have, so not everybody, but people will often forget all the people that have sacrificed so much so that they may see success, so that they might achieve a goal or overcome an obstacle. And I think that there have been a lot of people that have poured themselves into my life, whether it be teachers, coaches, my parents, my mom and my dad have been some of the biggest supporters and putting little bouts of wisdom in me throughout my whole entire life. Even friends, and watching friends make mistakes, learning and be able to, watch people make mistakes and learn from those. I think that has kind of where a lot of this has stemmed from. I think your experiences and the sum of your experiences is what shapes you. And going through college football that taught me a lot of things. It taught me a lot of things to how to be disciplined, how to wake up every morning at 4:45, get some breakfast in you, because you know that if you don't get your breakfast in you before your 6 a.m. workouts, you're not going to perform the way that you need to perform in order to beat the person who's starting in front of you. Like, things like that, things that are struggling, that causes you to struggle and having to overcome that. Those teach you lessons. A lot of people, one of the things that a lot of people don't know is I was being recruited out of high school, and given the situation, the circumstances that I was put in, the coaching staff that was recruiting me at UW was fired. And so the new coaching staff completely just dropped all the 3, 2, 1-star recruits. And being a 3-star, they just kind of like dropped me, and they all of a sudden I didn't hear any contact, and was just kind of tossed out of the recruiting pool. But I didn't accept that answer. That wasn't good enough for me. So I drove down. I signed myself out of school. I was 18 years old, so I could sign myself out of school. I took a highlight film and a resume that had all my stats and a cover letter. I drove down to Seattle and parked my car, and I think I put an hour and 20 minutes on the parking. And I don't know if you've ever been parked in Seattle and gone over on time, but they're sharks. Those parking guys are sharks, and they will ticket you. They'll be waiting at the meter, waiting for it to tick down to 0 and give you a ticket. It's incredible. But I put an hour and 20 on my parking meter, and I walked up to the office, and I said, I'd like to see the running backs coach, and I'm going to sit here, and I'll be here. Just let me know when he can come out. 4 hours later, after probably 5, 6 different people were sent out to accept my film and my resume, and every single one that came out and said, no, thank you. I will wait for Coach Thomas to come out, and when he can talk to me, I will be here waiting. And for 4 hours, I waited in the front offices of the football office and in the front lobby until he came out. Coach Thomas came out. He said, you have 1 minute. You have 1 minute to tell me what you need to tell me. I'm busy. And for 1 minute, I gave him my speech. I told him that if he asked me to go get ice cream, I'll go get ice cream at 100 miles an hour. If he asked me to run through a brick wall, I'll through a brick wall. And I said, look at my highlight film, give me a call. That's all I got for you. And again, 4 hours, I'd only paid for an hour and 20 of parking, and I walked out there. I didn't even have a ticket. I was like, yes! That's what's up. Like, God was looking out, and going through something like that at 18 years old, I realized that I had to take initiative for my life. Like, I can't sit back, and I can't be complacent. And it's easy to let complacency come into your life. It's a poison. Complacency, passive nature, apathy, it is poison. And once you get a drop in it, it will just completely just ruin the whole batch. I mean, it will just ruin your life. And so you have to be intentional. You have to take initiative for your own life and where you want to go. And I think that being put in a situation like that, I guess having the passion, so much passion to play college football, especially at the UW, to go down and do that, it just kind of taught me that I have to, if I'm passionate about something, I have to go make it happen. I can't wait for it to come to me, because it won't. I have to go get it. So
that is such a cool story, man. I think it's uncommon for a millennial to have that attitude.
Yeah,
we want everything for nothing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's that saddens me. I mean, we could talk about millennials being one all day long, but I really think that the old principles from way back in the day, like we talk about our grandparents of just hard work, put your nose to the grind, put your phone down and have a conversation with people. Those types of principles, I think that those are still the principles that will take us way farther in life than anything that people are trying to come up with now.
Certainly. Yeah, we really can have anything we want, do anything we want, but we have to go out and get it for ourselves and not wait for it to come to us. Sounds like what you're saying.
Yeah. I have my favorite Bible verse is Hebrews 12:11. And it says, "No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but those who are trained by it will know a life of righteousness and peace." And that is the verse I hang my hat on. That is the verse that I live my life from. Discipline does not seem pleasant, and it hurts, and it's tiring, and you get lack of sleep, and sometimes you're let down, and sometimes you're really passionate about something, and adversity slaps you in the face and says, "Not today." And you just kind of have to grind through things and grit your teeth, and it's not fun all the time. And discipline can just be a jerk. Like, discipline sometimes just sucks. But if you are trained by it, if you are disciplined and you're diligent about being disciplined, you're going to know a life of righteousness. You're going to know a life of peace and joy and comfort. You may not have all the money you want. You may not have all the friends you want, but there's going to be a peace in your life. There's going to be joy in your life. And that, I think, is a life well lived.
No doubt, man. What are some of the most quote unquote intense things that you do to ensure you're leaving no stone unturned?
What do you mean by intense? Because I mean,
maybe what
Fran is pretty intense.
Yeah, I guess what people do. Are there any things that you do that you think some of your friends would think are just crazy?
I think a lot of people think that the amount of time that I spend tracking macros is crazy. Mm-hmm. Something as simple as paying attention to nutrition. It is so. I mean, we could talk about nutrition for another 45 minutes, but the large and the short of it is simply most people aren't willing to be disciplined enough with food because there is so much emotion attached to food for people. They're not willing to remove emotion and look at it from a perspective of what food can do for your body. They look at it as like what I want now. What they want, instant gratification. And being a millennial, like, I get that. Like, I live in the same generation that all the other millennials and people out there are living in. And, like, instant gratification is what everybody kind of wants right now. And people want that with food. They want to go pick something up from the store or from a restaurant or go out to eat, but they don't know how that was cooked. They don't know what's in that. They don't because they don't want to take the time to be disciplined to take the time to cook their own meal, and I get that for some people. They're very busy. And so it is hard to cook their own meals, and I get that, and that's understandable, but there are plenty of resources out there if they took the time to find well-sourced, clean processed, clean made, well-cooked meals out there, so, nutrition, a lot of people don't understand that it just takes some discipline. I think that's that's one of the things that's pretty intense is, having to track the macros, make sure that the food that I am ingesting, is clean and good for me, is going to propel me forward.
So when you started working with a D, you were already very lean. So what I think a common misconception, especially with men in this sport, is they think that people only need a nutrition coach if they have like body fat to lose, right? Why did you seek out help with your nutrition?
Because I think that nutrition is one of the foundations of performance. It's what's going to propel people forward. And I felt like I was pretty lean, once I started working with the D. But I realized that if I could be leaner, if I could weigh less and have the same power output and continue to grow in strength, but I'm lighter, that's just an equation for a better athlete. And I think that when you pay attention to nutrition, that you can achieve that through nutrition if you pay attention to it. What gets measured gets worked. So measure your macros, measure what you intake, measure the things that you're doing with nutrition, because that is going to help your performance down the road. So, that's just simply the way I see it.
I think just like in the same way a mental routine, a morning routine, a pre-competition routine helps, having control over what you're putting in your body helps just from a stress management standpoint, right? That's one thing you can cross off the list and say, you know what, I've got that dialed in. I don't have to worry about that. And like you were kind of alluding to before, food is such a huge part of all of our lives. And there's so many different emotions and even, even like addictive tendencies in a lot of us surrounding food. And if we don't have control over it, then we're just simply we're not going to optimize our performance. It is, to me, it is a fact. If you're not willing to put in the time to dial in your nutrition, then you never know if you're reaching your full potential.
Exactly. You will never be the athlete that you could potentially be. Totally.
So the other night you were the open announcement, 17.3.
Yeah, that was fun.
You're with Frazier and Panchik, and they both finished the workout.
Yeah, those guys are beasts. Like
they are beasts. They are beasts.
Like I just want to reiterate like how cool it was for people to witness like such good times thrown down there.
Right.
It was impressive.
It was amazing. So you're the only one left on the floor, and you knew that like literally hundreds of thousands of eyeballs were on you and you alone. Can you describe that experience?
Yeah. Amazing. It was an amazing experience. Like there were probably a couple hundred people packed into that CrossFit gym watching there. But you mentioned there were hundreds of thousands of people all around the globe streaming it live. And in that moment, like being on that stage, you can feel all that energy. And it is super cool. And I think that, it boils down to like what we've talked about, earlier about being mindful and present minded with how you think and taking captive your thoughts and creating a habit on how you perceive the world. You can either take that energy and let it crush you and it worry you and it concern you and, oh my gosh, people are watching. I'm the only one here, all that stuff. Or you can look at it and be like, how cool is this stage? Let's put on a show for these people. Let's go to work.
Right.
Because you can do this. You have it in you. You know that you put the work in. You know what you're capable of. So let's just go do it because these people want to see a show, and that's going to be fun. And I think that is a way that I saw it. I was focusing on running my own race. The whole announcement, if you go back and you watch it, I was doing my thing at the beginning. I was right on pace. And there was a very specific time that I didn't drop off because I was tired. I could have kept going faster. I dropped off because I knew what race I needed to run.
Right.
And knowing that and being mindful of that, I think was what allowed me to harness that energy and going out and being a Christian athlete. We talk about a lot, as an athlete, competing for an audience of one. I'm out here for, the glory of God and his kingdom. So it's like, bro, like just go do your thing and put on a show for these people and motivate people. My life, my whole purpose, like, and we haven't really got into that about like why even do this in the first place, but it's like, why you're out here. So now just go do the work that you put out to do. Like, just go do it, man. And so I harnessed that energy. It was cool. It was like, man, to hit that snatch and have the crowd erupt the way it did was awesome. I tell people there are two things in my life that I think were some of the coolest moments of my competitive career. And one was actually in the tennis stadium last year when we did the squat clean ladder at the games. I was struggling with the final barbell and I had 10 seconds to hit it, and I hit it and the whole tennis stadium erupted.
Nice.
People were like, oh, that's so cool. Like, yeah, it's awesome. But what they don't see behind it is I finished 32nd in that event. Like, most people would look at that and be like, that was a bad event for me. Like, and they'd be bummed out and they'd be sad. Like, oh, could have done better. I got 32nd place in it. I know I can squat clean 325. I was kind of frustrated that I wasn't hitting it. But when that crowd erupted and that energy was released and it was just like people going nuts, that was the good that I found in it. I found the good in that, and I was like, wow, that was a cool experience. That was a blast. Just chalk that one up as a success, and let's go back to work. And I feel like that's what I did with this one. Even though that I was the last person on the floor, they had finished anywhere from 5 minutes to 7 minutes before me, and I'm sitting there banging my head against 265. Like, to hit that and have the crowd erupt the way it did was just an awesome experience.
So cool, man. That was a great moment to watch for sure.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Also,
I kind of stole the show, but I was like, again, like
exactly.
Matt and Scott crushed it. You know?
They're like, who was in that open workout? It was Sager and who else?
Exactly.
Oh yeah. All right. Let's wrap it up with some quick fire questions. So for these, either finish the sentence or say the first word that comes to mind when I say this.
Okay.
I'm relaxed and content when
I've given everything I got.
Successful
is something you work for every single day.
I laughed my ass off when
friends are around.
My siblings would say I'm
an oddball.
How many what do you got? What kind of siblings you got?
I have an older brother and a younger brother.
Why would they say you're an oddball?
Nah, man, I'm just I don't know. I was just bred from a different cloth, I think. I'm kind of was the one that kind of took off as an athlete in the family, and I just we didn't as younger kids, we didn't always mesh. We never like hated each other. We always got along, but I was always kind of the one that shined in the spotlight with sports and stuff, and even academics, and I was just different. I don't know. And I think today even like they're super proud of me. I can't tell you how many times I have a conversation with somebody that I am traveling with, and they met one of my brothers. One of my brothers is a flight attendant. One of my brother travels around a lot, and he lives down in Los Angeles. And it's a small world, so I'll run into people that have talked to them, and they just always talk about how proud my brothers are of me, and I think that means so much to me. Family is one of the most important things to me in my life, and to have them talk about how proud they are of me is so awesome. But at the same time, I know that they think I'm just kind of screwy in the mind, because you have to kind of screw you in the mind to do what we do. So
for sure, man. For sure. So I've heard you talk about a couple times that you use the fact that you're a professional athlete to build a platform. It seems like you're very successfully building that platform as we speak. What does that mean, and how do you hope to use that?
Yeah. So kind of another quick story. I'll keep it kind of short if I can.
Yeah. Okay.
But when I got done with college football, I had to make a decision if I wanted to try to make it on a team in the NFL, whether it be, I knew my journey would be tough, but I felt like I could either make a practice squad and then eventually a roster, or who knows. But I had always had the goal to play in the NFL, and kind of had to come to the decision that wasn't for me anymore, and I wanted to go a different route. And that's when I decided to do CrossFit. And I actually decided to start doing CrossFit by telling myself, I'm going to go to the CrossFit Games. And then I did my first CrossFit workout. It wasn't, I found CrossFit, I've been doing CrossFit, like, it'd be cool to go to the games. It was, I'm either going to build a platform playing professional football, or I'm going to go to the CrossFit Games and I'm going to build my platform as a CrossFit Games athlete. And that's when I made the decision to start competing in CrossFit. And then I did my first workout, and then I started doing, so then I started doing CrossFit. And I think that's important to know that kind of that story and that baseline, because I truly believe, and this is one of the mantras of my life that I hold on to, dearest to my heart, is I truly believe that our lives are not meant for us. I believe that our lives are meant to be an encouragement for people, to help comfort people and strengthen them, bring in inspiration and motivation to other people's lives. I think that there is something that is inspiring about everybody's story if you're just willing to listen. And what I want to do with CrossFit is I want to just continue to build a platform to encourage people, to inspire them, and to motivate them to overcome some of the obstacles that are in their life, some of the goals that they set out to achieve, but they put on the back burner because they started to doubt themselves. I want to be somebody that people can look to for leadership, to overcome things, to be a conqueror, to be an overcomer when all odds are against them, when they have to sit in an office for 4 hours until a football coach comes and listens to them. I want to be that person for other people, and I want my platform to ring that bell. And I want people to see and look back at my career at the end of my career and see a legacy of this guy gave everything he got and gave everything he had to the things that he was passionate about, and he was only able to overcome because he was just disciplined and he worked hard. And I think that at the end of the day, if I can reach one person, if I can impact one life in that way, if I can encourage one person, motivate one person to overcome something, then this whole journey, this whole life has been worth it. And that is the essence of why I compete. That is the essence of why I'm in this space. And it is the purpose behind why I do what I do. It's what I think about when I go into the gym. And I don't want to work out that day because, you know what, I'm sore, I'm tired, I'm fatigued, I've been traveling, I didn't eat enough, I didn't sleep enough. I have all these reasons against me to why I should just rest, why I should just take some time off, or maybe not go so hard, or maybe not do so much volume. And I have all these reasons against me. I think of that one reason. I think of that one purpose of why I'm doing this in the first place, because there's a life out there that I could potentially change. And if I just do the work, if I can change that life, then it's all been worth it.
Boom. Badass, man.
Yeah.
We definitely have similar life philosophies, it sounds like. The magic of what you just said is by focusing on and make, kind of crafting your purpose around helping and inspiring other people. It doesn't it make you so much happier and more fulfilled?
Oh, it truly does, man. Like, I feel like that's where I find the most joy.
It's crazy how that works. Focus on others, get out of your own head, get out of self-pity and self-infatuation, and you'll be as happy as can possibly be.
I had a friend yesterday come over, and he was just kind of in a slump. And he just was like, I don't know about this day, just kind of a negative attitude. And me and my wife were kind of running around. Genesee and I were running around, and we had to go pick up my brother from the airport, and he came over right when we were leaving, but he knew some of the things that we had to do the rest of the day. I still had some training to do, and our day was just kind of getting busy. And he being in a slump, he still was like, hey, like, I can go pick him up for you guys. So he went and picked him up, and when he came home, he was in a completely different attitude. And he said out loud, he was like, it was amazing because I was in this slump, and just by serving somebody else or doing something nice for somebody else, it just lifted my spirits, and it made me feel so much more peaceful and joy. And I was like, that's a really cool thing to see that lived out. And I thought that was a really cool moment just from yesterday that I really enjoyed. And it's exactly what you're talking about. You just find ways to do things for other people, and life is just going to be fun. It's going to be joyful.
Want to man. Well, Thank you so much, brother. Do you have anything to leave these guys with? Anything else?
Yeah. I just want to say thank you for listening. Thank you to you for having me on here. I know I'm long-winded and I can talk for all day long. So I just appreciate.
Hey, that's good for audio, brother.
I just appreciate you guys being patient and listening and taking the time to hear what's on my heart. And just hope that I can be an encouragement to people, man. So thank you for having me on. I respect what you're doing, and I think this is going to be good for the community, and that's what this is about, man.
Hell yeah, man. We're all wishing you good luck. Have a great day. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it, man.
All right, buddy.
I'll see you.